Well, this is video 2 in our series where we're looking at 20th, 21st century eating styles. And wow, I mean, who would have thought years ago we would be having this video and it would be so varied and so interesting, and that you would actually be like, wow, I really am interested, really want to know what you have to say about these things, because we're hearing about them. So now we're learning about them. Remember where we come from. My grandparents, and I don't know about your grandparents, depending how old you are. My grandparents. And really, actually, even my parents, I mean, we don't even have to go very far back, and some people still do this today, had a big cast iron skillet, and they had a big deal of animal fat, and we kind of thought we went healthy when we went to vegetable fat, but we had what's called Crisco, and back in the olden days, they would just literally have an animal and have animal fat, and they'd have a coffee can, and they would have this big skillet, and a lot of you are like, yeah, we still do that, or my grandparents do that, but they would just get the lard, which is the animal fat, put it in the skillet, okay, and it would bubble up, and then they fry stuff in there, and that's what we called fried foods. And then when we got all done with that, and we cooked whatever we were cooking, because we fried everything, okay, it was not just chicken, it would be anything, potatoes, we fried eggs, we cooked eggs in oil, I mean everything. And so then when we got done with that, we didn't want to waste the oil, so we poured it back into the oil, back into the coffee can, and it was a clear liquid on top. Well, that was your trans fats, that was your really bad fats, okay? So we let it harden, okay, and it became hard, it became white, and kind of oily, and then till the next time they had a meal, we just reach in there and grab some more and throw it back in that skillet. Well, the interesting thing was we had these big cast iron skillets, and they're porous in the bottom, let the heat out. So you could take one of those cast iron skillets and put it on the fire, put it on the stove, and the oil came out, and you could actually smell the different things that you had cooked in the porous deal. So, look how far we've come. Look how far we've come. We've come from just eating straight animal lard, okay? And people have developed a taste for different things. These different eating styles that we have, people develop a taste for them. Whole milk, okay, that you get directly from a cow. Whole milk was just a taste of milk, and I remember growing up. I'd eaten milk directly from a cow, and then I began to get processed milk and different things, and then later they said, well, it's healthy to drink skim milk, take the fat off, and boy, I drank it, and I'm like, oh, that's awful. Oh man, it tastes like water. Well, the more I drank skim milk, the more I got used to it. Well, then now you can get coconut milk, you can get cashew milk, almond milk. Now, I don't know how you milk a cashew. I'm not really sure how this works, but you get cashew milk. So the thing about the cashew milk and the almond milk is that they have almost no sugar. They have no fat, but they have almost no sugar. They don't have any cholesterol. They have less than 1 gram of sugar, whereas skim milk has about 12 grams of sugar per cup. So once again, it's milk sugar, it's maltose, it's not refined sugar. So, it's kind of interesting. Well, believe it or not, I've even gotten to where I start to drink cashew milk. I mean, oh my gosh, who'd ever thought we got there? The first time I tasted it, it was really awful, but now I don't even notice the difference. So we're going to move on to another eating style. And this one's called the Atkins diet. Now, this is really when you look back at Atkins, it's really a really interesting deal, because Atkins was actually a doctor, okay? Dr. Atkins came up with this, and Dr. Atkins actually put people on this diet before he did heart surgery, okay? So it was kind of interesting. Several years ago, and it's really been about 15 years ago now, my dad had a heart attack and had to have a bypass. Well, when my dad went in, they had him wait a little bit, and in the hospital they put him on an Atkins diet for 2 days. And what the Atkins diet does is the Atkins diet takes away carbs and sugars and gives you meats and proteins. The Atkins diet the idea is that it is nearly all proteins. Why would a doctor put you on the Atkins diet before he gives you heart surgery? It's because you're going to have to replace cells like crazy. You've got enough carbohydrates and fat in your system to make it, okay? But that Atkins diet is just bringing in major protein so that when we have to repair, when back in the days when we cut everything, heart surgery, we had to cut down not only the skin, but we had to take a saw and cut the sternum and pull it back, and think about all the cells we're replacing and repairing. So the protein that's in the Atkins and the calcium is really high. Now, what's happened is people got on that particular diet. There's even an Atkins diet now, and it's still around a little bit. It was never designed to be a long-term deal, but it is all protein so that you begin to get muscle, okay, and you get less carbs. So once again, the problem with taking the Atkins diet day in and day out is it really wasn't designed to be a long-term diet. It's designed to be a 1 week, 7-day build-up of proteins. Now, we have another eating style that we hear a lot of, and it's called Paleo. Now, Paleo actually comes from the word paleo. When you do this research, you got to be careful. There's lots of stuff out on the internet, lots of Facebook stuff. Well, I heard this, I heard that. So we tried our best to get just scientific things about these that aren't opinionated. Okay, paleontology is the study of man. Okay, paleo is looking at early man. Okay. Says, okay, if we've gotten so bad that we ate all this lard and we ate all these different things and we had all these buffets where we just ate serving size, when we look at calories, okay, when we look at calories, the average male, they calculate when it says, certain percent calories for the day, they calculate 2,000 calories for an average male. What's average? I don't know. What's normal? Just a setting on the dryer. But they say 2,000 calories for an average male. Now, if it's a female, and the female is what we call small bones. You're kind of like, I'm a female, but I'll classify the large bones and take the 1,800 or 2,000 calories. But if it's a female that is a smaller bone female, they say 1,500 calories is a daily intake. So what they look at with paleo is they go back and they say, okay, well now look at what we're eating. Let's go back and look at the history of man and see what happened. So here's what I got on paleo, and it made a lot more sense to me when I looked at the history of it. Okay, so this is the idea. Our ancestors ate only plants and animals, okay? I was telling you in the first video, not just cavemen, but pioneers and everything else. You would go out and you would kill your food and you would cook it and you would harvest your food. You didn't do your foraging, at Walmart or Kroger's or Albertsons or wherever you go. So our ancestors ate only plants and animals. The only thing that they probably ever added was salt that they got from a riverbed if they were pioneers. Now, besides what they ate, okay, their eating style was different than ours, okay? All right? They ate more sporadically, okay? They weren't based on 3 meals a day. They didn't have morning, breakfast, noon, lunch, and evening supper. They ate sporadically. They would go hunting, okay? They had a biological clock where they would get up at sunrise, and that the melatonin, okay, because we have artificial lights, okay, once again, so that's another topic, okay, that we talk about, the melatonin, okay, that we're absorbing. So we have a biological clock. Well, as they would go out and hunt, as food was plentiful, or as they were walking, and as they picked stuff up, they would eat stuff that they harvested. They might eat berries as they're walking. They ate more sporadically. Early man did not have this 3 meals a day. What happened, the 3 meals a day came along when people were trying to say, okay, what's healthy? We need this number of calories, and we need to give it this much time to digest. So we begin to calculate the natural early man before we put thought into it, before we put all scientists and experts and everybody came in saying what it would be. We ate more sporadically. Now listen to this. This is interesting. So we didn't always have a large supply of food. Right now, you walk over to the grocery store, you get your food. You drive down the street, you see a restaurant, you pull over, you eat. You drive through a fast food restaurant, you grab that. You go to your refrigerator, there's food in your refrigerator. You go to your pantry, there's food in your pantry. That was not the case. And so the paleo diet recognizes, okay, that we have a steady supply of food that we can eat all the time, whereas early man says, did not have a steady supply of food. All right, so that's a big thing. So what happened was, when we didn't have a steady supply of food, we used up the energy from the food we had. And then we would get hungry, so then we would go and we would get more food. Okay? So we started to store energy when we started to eat surplus food. We used to eat on a I'm hungry basis or I have food. Now we store up food. We go to our refrigerator. You know, it's an interesting statement when people in our country go, "Man, I'm starving. You know, I can't hardly make it till lunch." Okay, but we have a steady supply of food. So because we have a steady supply of food, our bodies go into a whole different mechanism. We have to store this food. Remember, the paleo diet is telling us that the early man said, I've got this food. So the early man would store the food, and then he would do what? How long would he store it? Not very long, because he would use the food that he ate. So now we have a big deal of, now we're beginning to store food. Okay? So we're storing the extra food. Now, imagine this, okay? If your body does not have, okay, if your body does not have enough food, then it's holding on to all the food it's got. Okay? So it's holding on to all the food it's got. Your body's going to process everything that it needs. But if you've got too much food, then you begin to get rid of food. You're like, oh, my body's got too much. I'm processing food really fast. So what paleo is saying is let's go back, okay? Let's go back to this early deal and let's eat only things that are natural. Paleo says let's eat, it's like Whole30. It's like let's eat what's natural. But paleo says let's eat what's natural. Paleo also says let's do smaller serving size, and that 3 meals a day isn't even the key thing. Let's time this to where when we're hungry we eat, and we actually develop hunger. What causes us to be hungry today? Oh, an advertisement. We drive by McDonald's, we smell the hamburger, we're like, I'm really hungry. The paleo diet, the original paleo diet, says we need to eat when we're hungry and not eat when we're full. Well, why do we eat? We eat because it's that time of day. Or we eat because we're bored. Or we eat because it's a stress reliever. I think I'll just have a gallon of ice cream today because it makes me feel better. Okay? So the paleo is saying, let's stop and reconsider this. So paleo is thinking, just like paleontology, study of man, go back and look at what's natural, okay? What's natural, and then also what is serving size, and then why do we eat? Now, if we eat because it tastes good, okay, then those endorphins in our minds start saying, man, that pecan pie is awesome. So we eat, and as we eat, we're like, oh, that just makes me feel so good. So what we do is we eat some more, we eat some more, we eat some more, and we're eating it because of the endorphins rather than because we're hungry. So paleo diet goes back to eating natural, eating vegetables, eating meat, no processed foods, and not eating when we're not hungry. So paleo goes back to the original idea of food was not always available to us, whereas now food is always available. Wow, this is a fast topic. We finished another video. We're gonna move on to number 3, and we're gonna get into some more specific things with how our body works.